Colors. Today, it's all about colors, and color math. I've been getting a lot of requests of people asking me to make their custom filters, mainly colors that fit their theme because brand. They want dust, scratches, change the hue, the brightness, saturation, light leaks, animate those lights and make it look super. Scratches, Visco filters, and Lightroom theme because brand. I'm just saying words now, but yeah, let's learn something. If this is your first filter, make sure you go check out how to make an Instagram filter in 10 minutes and how to make your own makeup Instagram filter here. And if you like color math, you definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. All right, let's make this filter. The first thing I want to do is make a vintage filter that has light leaks, dust, and scratches. The first thing I need to do is actually draw those light leaks, dust, and scratches. I use Pixelmator, but you can use Photoshop, Paint, whatever you want. I already made a few light leaks, but I'm going to show you how I made them. First, you need to create a new layer, add a rectangle with the base color that you want to do, put it in the position you want the light leak to come from. I'm putting it down below here, and then you have to blur it. And what's really cool about Pixelmator is that it has a lot of effects ready to go, like that blur, and also it has light leaks. And I love these light leaks because you just drag and drop and position it wherever you want. I did find online a lot of resources of people just giving away their light leaks, so they already made them, so you can just download and use those. And actually for the dust, I was able to find someone who shared their scratches and dust PNG files, and all I had to do was invert the color and save each layer as a separate file. Back at Spark AR, right click focal distance, add a new canvas, right click canvas, and I'm gonna add two rectangles, one for the light leaks and one for the dust. Select the size to fill with and fill the height. Create a new material for each one of those. And I'm going to rename it Dust Matte, new material for light leaks, and rename it to Light Leaks Matte. Then under Add Asset, I'm going to import from my computer those light leaks that we just created. I'm going to just select the first one so that we can create a texture sequence. And then now you can select the rest of your light leaks. And then under Add Asset, create an animation sequence. I'm going to rename it Light Leaks. Under Texture, you can select your light leak. Under Light Leaks Matte, select the animation sequence. And now we have all of the light leaks. I don't want them looping like this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some logic, select my animation sequence to bring in the current frame into my patch editor. And in the patch editor, right click and add screen tap. I want to loop through them when I tap the screen. And then right click and add counter. And then connect the tab to increase, and I'm going to change the maximum count to 4 because there's only 4 files, and then count to animation sequence. To test it, you can go to the hamburger and change it to simulate touch, and now you can go through all your light leaks. Now for the dust, we need to do the same. So under Add Asset, import from my computer, just select the first one, and under Type, select Texture Sequence. You can select the rest. Under Add Asset, create a new animation sequence. I'm going to rename it Dust. And under Texture, you can select the Dust 1 to 6. Under Dust Material, under Texture, select that animation sequence dust. And now you have all of the dust files looping through you. And I actually kind of like that animation. So I'm going to leave it, but I want to change the frame rate. And you can do that by selecting the animation sequence dust and changing the frames per second. So instead of 25, I'm going to change it to 10. Enter. Yeah. And now that we have everything in, we can play with the opacity and the way it blends with everything. So I'm going to select the dust material first, and I'm going to change the opacity. I'm going to lower it to like 45. This is good. On light leaks material, I want to show you something. So right now it looks like very colorful, and it looks like it's on top of everything. But if you want it to look like it blends with where you are, you can do that by changing the blend mode from alpha to multiply. And I actually really like that because now it looks like the light leak is on my shirt as well, or my room. The reason why you select multiply is when you're multiplying matrices of color, it blends them together. So it's blending the colors in my world with those light leaks. And I think it's pretty cool. Oh, math, color math. Speaking of color math, quick disclaimer, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the hue, the saturation, and the brightness. I'm going to be doing a lot more math and logic within the patch editor, and if it doesn't feel intuitive, do not feel discouraged. Just follow through this tutorial if you're interested. I'm going to put more links in the description of color math. I think it's really cool. I am bringing some of my game development experience into this, but yeah, if you are interested, that's awesome. I'm going to put more links in the description, and if you're not really into color math, it's fine. You can follow through and get it done and tweak what I did for your case. I think I'm going to start a new project. Let's change the hue, the brightness, and the saturation. Right, let's just get to it. Under focal distance, right click and add a new canvas. And under canvas, select a new rectangle. Then change the size to fill width and fill height. Add a new material to it. Select the camera under scene. Next to texture extraction, select the plus sign, and that will add a camera texture to your textures. So select your material and change the texture to camera texture. In your material, next to texture, there's an arrow. Select that one and you'll see it appear on your patch editor. And then under textures, drag your camera texture into your patch editor. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the patch editor and find my color space. And you can change from RGB to HSL here, and HSL stands for hue, saturation, and lightness, and that's what we want to change. You cannot do the RGBA because you're changing RGB to HSL. So select the middle one, RGB, and connect that to your color space. And now you can change the output to be HSL. I need to unpack, so when I connect this, that means that X is my H, my Y is my S, and my Z is my L. And to change them, we need to do some math. So I'm going to add a multiply, two multiplies, one for my Y and one for my L. So I'm going to connect the Y to the first multiply and the Z to my second multiply. Now I need to pack them again. Since I didn't touch the X, it goes straight into pack. And then the Y is from multiply and the Z is from multiply. Then I need to change it back to RGB. So find color space and connect it and change from HSL to RGB. We need to add the RGBA, the alpha, to it. To do that, you just have to unpack again and pack it with the alpha and change it to vector 4 because I'm going to need a fourth number, which is the alpha. Here's my A. You can drag it all the way to the bottom one. And now I can connect this final pack to my material. Okay, now everything's connected and I can change the numbers. Go to your multiplies and I'm going to change the first one, which is saturation, and I multiply it by 1.5. And there you go. I have a lot of saturation on me. It looks great. I actually really like it. And then the second one, I'm going to multiply by the same. Whoa, that's a little bit too bright. So I'm going to bring it down a notch by 1.2. Okay, to do the contrast, I'm going to connect this straight to my RGBA so I can just multiply it by the last result. I'm going to find power. I want to raise my RGBA to the power of 2, add it to itself, because that will make the blacks blacker and the colors more colorful, because the large numbers are going to increase exponentially and the small numbers are going to not change too much. I'm going to connect my RGBA to power and change it to 2, so that's raised to the power 2, and then I'm going to add it to itself. So add this guy and the new value, and then I'm going to multiply by the result that I got here. Multiply this guy by this result and connect that to my material. And now there's a lot of contrast. My blackers are black and my colors are color. So to change the hue, you need to add. You're not going to multiply here. And the reason is hues are like a cycle. You add 1 and it goes from 0 to 1. And then you add 1 again, it goes from 1 to 0. And you add 1 again, you go from 0 to 1. So it's not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to go 0, 1, 0, 1, like a switch. I'm going to connect my X to the top one, and the bottom one I'm going to add 1. And then I'm going to connect that one to my pack. Oh, there it is. And then you do 0 and it got yellower. But it's kind of hard to see with my skin tone and hair color. So I'm going to change it to this girl. And when I change my hue to 1, you're going to see her hair change to red. Yeah. So you can just change the hue like this. And you can add your saturation back in. So this is it. This is how you can change the hue, the saturation, the contrast and the brightness. And all you have to do is tweak these 3 numbers a little bit, and that's what you're gonna get. So now I want to animate my light leaks and just bring everything together, make this really cool filter. Back on Pixelmator, I created a big circle with gradients and colors that I liked. I also made it twice as big as the width of my screen. So to add it, I just need to go to focal distance, right click, add a new canvas. And then under canvas, right click and add a new rectangle. Color wheel. And then under color wheel, I'm going to make the size of the square that I did 1334 by 1334. And on materials, I'm going to add a new material, color wheel. I'm going to change the shader type to flat because it's just 2D. And then I'm going to add a new texture, and I'm going to select the one that I saved. Decrease the opacity so you can see me. Now let's animate it. On the patch editor, I'm going to right click and find loop animation and a transition. I'm going to change that to be just a number. I'll just change from 0 to 360 to rotate that circle. Find a 2D transform pack where I can change the rotation. So I'm going to connect my value to rotation. Right click and find texture transform. So I need to give it the transformation and the actual texture that we're transforming. So I'm going to connect the transform to transform, and the texture I can just drag and drop the purple that we just created and connect that RGBA into texture. And then I can just connect that transform to that color wheel material, and I can bring it in by clicking on this texture here. And it's rotating, but this is not how I wanted to rotate it. I forgot something. So you can change the pivot to 0.5, which is half, and that's because I wanted to rotate it like this. So now I can see it. I want it to look more like it's part of my world. So you can change the blend mode to multiply, and it looks like it's part of my world, which looks pretty cool. Now I want to add my light leaks and make them appear and disappear. And to do that, first I'm going to change the color wheel rectangle to not visible so you can see the changes. And then I'll bring it back in. Under canvas, right click, add a new rectangle, which is going to hold my light leaks. I'm going to change it to the size of my screen. And then I'm going to add a new material. Then I'm going to add acid from my computer so I can bring in all my light leaks. To add the animations, first I need to bring in my texture into my patch editor. I'm going to bring in all my light leaks into it by just dragging and dropping. Just going to right click and find a loop. Loop animation. And I'm going to add a counter, connect my looper to my increase, and then I'm going to change my maximum count to 4 because there's only 4 images. So I'm going to find equals and if else. If my counter equals 0, then I'm going to show this light leak, else I'm going to show this light leak. I'm going to send that to my light leaks material. So now you can see that I'm switching between the two of them. So all I need to do is add the same logic to all of them and connect it. Now we're looping through all of them, but it needs some animations. I want to like move them a little bit and maybe fade them out. Okay, I'm gonna move this down a little bit and I'm gonna add a transition. I'm gonna change it to number and I'm gonna connect my progress to my progress. And I wanna just rotate it a little bit like 20 to 0. Find my 2D transform pack and I'm gonna connect that to rotation. Texture transform. So I can add for texture the result I have for my if else and transform this transform pack and then connect that to my light leaks material. There you go. So now we have a little bit of movement. It looks so much better. I want them to go in and out. So instead of curve linear, I'm going to change it to sinusoidal in out. But it's still not doing it. You have to mirror it. But it's still not doing it. And here's what I found with Spark AR. This loop is not allowing the animation to finish. So on the loop, I changed my counter to 8, so twice as many, and then divided by 2. And the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to change at every other count. And this will allow it to finish the animation. And then I'm going to floor it because I don't care about decimal numbers. Increase, divided by 2, and then floor it. And then that result, I'm going to connect it to all my equals instead of straight from the counter. Like that. So now you can see it goes in and out in my rotations. It's allowing it to do the entire animation, which is really cool. So now I want it to fade out into nothing. And to do that, you just need to change the alpha of the RGBA, which is the opacity. So if you reduce it to 0, it disappears. So we need to subtract the alpha. So first we need to extract that alpha like we did before. So that means we need to unpack here. I'm gonna select vector 4 so we can get the A. So I'm gonna connect those two here. Then I'm gonna add a new transition because I want it to fade in and fade out, and it's an animation. And I'm gonna change that to number. That number is gonna go from 1 to 0 because 0 is disappear. And I'm also gonna change it to this. So it looks like it fades in and out. And I'm gonna connect progress to progress. I can subtract the alpha that I just unpacked. And I'm gonna connect this guy here by this alpha from here. Okay, and that now I have an alpha that is changing, but I need to pack it again into my result. So let me move this guy all the way over here because I'm gonna have to unpack my texture transform result. So I'm gonna unpack this guy first. I'm gonna pack it again with the new alpha. So I need to change this to vector 4. And I'm going to connect my X to the first one, my Y to the second one, and my Z to the third one. And then the last one is going to be this subtraction result. And that's what I'm going to connect to my material. And now it looks like it's fading in and fading out. And it looks so cool. I love it so much. Oh, wow. Now I can bring the color wheel back in, make it visible. And if you select your material, instead of the blend mode alpha, you change it to multiply. Now it's gonna look the same, and you have like tons of colors, and it's crazy, and it looks so cool. All of the animations are going in, and now it's super fast, and that's very easy to change. On the circle, you can change the duration. Instead of 1, you can make it 3. So it's gonna rotate out slower. And then you can also change the duration of the other loop to 3, and they're both gonna go a little bit slower, but still move around. I really like it. That's it. I showed you how to do the light leaks, make it look vintage with dust and scratches. I showed you how to change the brightness, the contrast, the saturation, and the hue. I showed you how to animate all your light leaks and colors. And I found Josh Beckwidth. He made an amazing tutorial and patches that are ready to go that you can just drag and drop into your project. And these are lookup tables. They basically replace some colors to other colors that you want. You can create a lookup table and just create a filter that looks exactly like your feed. If you make something, please show it to me. I love seeing your creations. Just tag me on Instagram. If you make a story, make sure to tag me and I'll be able to see it. If you follow all the steps, you should be able to reproduce it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy color math, I'm going to put another link in the description of just color math. And if you're really into it, that'd be amazing because all of this comes from like shaders and game development. So thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun making this. Over to you, Teddy, with the VSCO report. Filters! I don't even know if I want to make more filters ever again after this one.